Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 158 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. I am one of your hosts, Barry, along with my other co-hosts.
My name is Craig, standard podcast greeting.
My name is also Craig. Barry and I are coming down off that Sixers win high, so we're trying to reel it in to be professional, but we're going to be a little more hyped up than usual. Who knows? By the time this goes up, maybe the series is over.
And we probably lost.
Yeah, we probably lost anyway. It's true.
That's a true fan right there. Oh, yeah, we lost. Yeah, we probably lost.
Well, then we can look back on this and how happy we were.
Yeah, I'll remember the happiness, the glow in my eyes.
Yes.
From this once upon a time. But what always has the glow in its eyes is the news this week.
You're not wrong.
It does.
To be fair, there isn't a lot though. Just on my list, just a couple things. We have the Guardians Volume 3 movie making $182 million this opening weekend. Good news for the Guardians. A lot of people are very excited about the movie. Have any of you guys seen it yet?
Not yet. Planning to next weekend.
Same here. So, we'll look out for the Guardians Volume 3 review. And a little sneak peek. Guess what? Redfall is terrible, and Phil Spencer has taken the blame for it.
Yes,
in an interview with Kind of Funny Games, he has come out and said that he is disappointed in himself for allowing Redfall to launch the way it has, because and for the most part, it's like too little, too late. Just in my eyes, like you guys obviously knew that this game wasn't going to be released in a state that was going to be good, and you released it anyway. They just seem to be so worried about, like, oh, we haven't had an exclusive in a while. Let's push this out so that at least we have an exclusive. And the only thing it's doing is getting hammered right now from critics and gamers alike. So I know we'll get into a little bit of Redfall, but what do you guys think about Phil Spencer's comments at all?
I mean, does it have something to do with maybe the Xbox hardware being down 30%, in terms of sales? The fact that there is really nothing to look forward to besides Starfield, and that you put all your eggs in a basket when there's not a planned schedule release, or at least any type of workings where you have like releases from your studio happening every month or two. Or I mean, this is just it's not like, I'm thinking Crocodile Tears, but it's not Crocodile Tears. It's like some other term that I'm trying to figure out to describe it. But it's just like I can't sit there and hear it. I'm disappointed in myself from Phil Spencer after seeing Redfall. I mean, like, we knew as gamers that this game wasn't going to be going well, and there was a lot of clamoring going on. 30 FPS across basically all platforms, and like, how do you produce something like that and then have that type of apology come after it? You know what I mean? I don't know. When I was younger, and my mom said that there's cookies in this jar on this particular, section of the kitchen, don't eat it. And I still did it. And then I gave my mom some heartfelt apology. Like, you know what? I know you told me, and I know that it was planned to not eat these cookies because dinner is coming. But, I'm just disappointed in myself for eating those cookies. I'm just,
yeah.
I didn't have my head right. I don't know. Craig, what do you think?
This has turned on to a confessional.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, yeah.
Clearly, I haven't gotten over it.
I mean, obviously, I want to like save most of it for when we get into games played and we really talk about it. But I'm just, more than anything, I'm just confused how they allowed it to come out in this state. I don't know. I mean, I think out of all of the major companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft seems the most willing to delay games if they're not ready. They did it with Halo. They did it with Starfield. It's like a, pretty consistent thing for them to be like, yeah, this game isn't ready. And for them to be like, to put this out. And it kind of seems like this was his way of saying that, like, oh, we didn't keep as close of an eye on this, studio as we should have. But you had to have seen the game before it came out. You had to have, if not played it, seen gameplay of it and been like, this isn't ready. So that is on Microsoft. That is on Xbox for allowing it to be out in this state. But part of it, I think, is also like, what else are you going to get out of this game? Because I don't think there's the core gameplay of it. I don't think is enough that even if they fix these issues, is going to convince people that this is a decent game.
Yeah.
Overall, it just seems like a mediocre, we've already played 50 of these type game.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of shortcomings.
Mhm.
Apparently the vampire, and we could talk about it later, but
Mhm.
it's just, I don't know. I don't know if they saw the fact that Starfield is obviously being released so much later in the year, that they saw this barren landscape that is spring and summer, where they're like, well, we got to do something, and just continue and just release the product. But I don't know. It's not good. It is the talk of the town. It's giving us all something to talk about. We are the
Yeah.
80,000th gamer to say something about Redfall since its release. But as far as their side, I don't know what the move was. Like you said, Craig, he had to have played it. Like, you had to
Yeah.
have played it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you released all of the things prior to it as well. All the things that weren't going to necessarily be part of the game until later, or maybe even not at all. So
Yeah.
it's disappointing.
Next up for me then is going to be Zelda frame rate issues. It's kind of come out that there are already issues with the new Zelda game and the frame rate, just because it is running on 5-year-old
Yeah.
hardware. And on top of that too, there are copies already out in the wild there. Probably, this seems to be like it always happens with every Zelda game. I feel like it was the same thing with Breath of the Wild.
Mhm.
Actually, yeah, I think it's like almost every major Nintendo release ends up having one of these issues. But have early reviews, and we don't get our hands on the game until the 12th, so you'll have to wait till next week in order to get our impressions and everything like that. But everybody says it lives up to expectations, but there are definitely issues when it comes to the frame rate and a lot of things happening. I won't know it until we play it ourselves, but this is kind of the release of the generation, I guess, for a lot of people. Everybody, there's been so many more comments lately about how Zelda is, or Nintendo is really the only good developer, it feels like, as of late, which I don't feel like that's right. I feel like Sony
No.
does a really good job, and yes, I get we just bashed on Xbox. Xbox has some good stuff when they decide to, I guess, shadow drop it. Has to be shadow dropped in order for it to be
Yep.
good. But
Apparently.
and I know you guys have read probably some of the early previews and everything like that. How do you guys feel about how Zelda is? Are you guys more excited, about the same?
I know Craig's more excited.
I mean, I'm gonna try it. I'm always hoping it's the one to bring me in. Just hasn't happened yet.
There's just so many that can bring you in just prior to it.
I've
There's just
tried
so
all
many.
of them.
Yeah, you have. I'm not worried about frame rate. I've never been worried about frame rate for the Switch. I don't think I've ever discussed frame rate in a casual setting regarding the Switch with my friends in a positive or negative light. It's the Switch. It's the technology that was bestowed on us, over 5 years ago.
Yep.
If it makes it unplayable, then yes, of course, I'm going to have some type of gripe with it. But I don't know. You're not running that fast with Link anyway. You have a stamina bar.
True.
So, I don't know. I'm not deterred. I do like some of the early stuff that I've seen come out about it, but I'm trying also not to read. When you guys kind of read and you spark note it, you just glance at it, you kind of get a couple of words. We usually do that for school assignments as a human race. Like, we're just like, all right, I read it. I read the Emily Dickinson novel Teacher. You know what I mean? So, like, that's what I'm kind of doing with any talks regarding Tears of the Kingdom, so that I can just keep it as fresh as possible when I
Yeah,
play
be
it.
careful of spoilers. Be careful of spoilers.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, with already
Yeah.
copies out and everything like that. And lastly, for me, is going to be the Gran Turismo movie gets a
Yeah.
trailer. I didn't.
It doesn't look bad.
That's what I mean.
Sure.
I didn't think it looked terrible. I actually completely forgot they were making a Gran Turismo movie. It comes out in August.
Right.
But I feel like, sure, why not? Like it's just kind of how I feel. Like I totally forgot this was a made thing. Coming out in August is some sort of weird summer blockbuster, and it's like, oh, like Nintendo just made a really good, or Nintendo, I shouldn't say made it, but like we've had a good video game movie in Mario. Now is like Gran Turismo gonna be the next thing? It's kind of the scary thought that I have to have.
I can't imagine there's going to be that many people who are like, I'm going to see this in theaters. Like, I'll
Day one.
watch it. I'll watch it when it's streaming, but I am not going to a theater to watch a movie about a kid who played Gran Turismo so well, which is a true story that he ended up getting a contract for racing, F1 racing, I think, maybe. I don't, no, not F1, but yeah, I mean, I'll definitely check it out, but I'm not paying whatever the amount of money, $20 to go see it in a theater. There's no way.
I'm gonna have to concur with you there. It doesn't have a lot of, I guess it does have the video game side, but like racing movies are not really a pumped out of Hollywood thing as well. So it doesn't have to like fight that aspect, but I'm not seeing it day one or
No.
5
Or
Ford
20
versus Ferrari
Or
did
20.
well, so I'm just
Yeah,
interested
that was a
to
good
see
movie.
if they somehow take
Yeah.
that kind of like length at it, because I feel like it's really hard to make a video game movie like for Gran Turismo, like action packed. Like we're not like Fast and Furious Gran Turismo or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
they take their racing so seriously that it would. I imagine it's kind of hard to, I guess, in a way, have fun with it. Would be my main
Yeah.
thing
Yes.
there. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's okay. I don't know. That's what I'm expecting is okay. You know, if it's
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
like Ford versus Ferrari, which I enjoyed that movie, I'll enjoy those too.
That's fair.
Yeah. I haven't been a Gran Turismo guy in a while, like dead set Gran Turismo guy in a while. I liked them when I was younger. That might be also part of my, where my head is at with that movie as well.
Yeah. But that's all I got for news. You guys are
All
more
right.
welcome to jump right in.
All right. So first, I only have a couple here, but first, we got a date for the Xbox showcase, June 11th. Seems even more important now than it was a week ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, we got to see something big, or 2 or 3 or 4 or something, and there's got to be, I'm hoping, at least one, not shadow drop, but like coming out within the next couple months besides Starfield.
Don't you feel like it has to be that one Stalker game? I feel like it has
Eh,
to be.
maybe.
If
Yeah.
if that's going to be anything, because that was the game we knew that was supposed to be out back in what, April of last year or April of this
Yeah.
year.
Oh, I think
And
it was, yeah,
It
it
was
was
last
something
year.
like that.
last year,
Mhm.
yeah. So I guess it really all depends, but like though the only reason I say that is because Stalker and Advance Wars kind of had the same timeline where they were coming out in April. They delayed
Yep.
them indefinitely just due to the war still going on in Ukraine. And like eventually you think, you have Stalker, why not Shadow Drop? Because Hi-Fi Rush was such a good hit for
Yeah.
Xbox. If there's a time to do it, do it. And if, as long as the developers are proud of the product they put out, I don't see why not.
Yeah, and it's got to be, they're gonna have to do like some Gears of Halo War type of game. Like they're gonna have to combine
Mhm.
exclusives in order to come back from this Redfall thing. So, but
And
we got a
Halo's
date.
here.
Mhm.
We got a date though. That's great. That's good news.
I still think it's going to be Gears, whether it's
I
just
hope
like
it's
a
Gears.
title
I really do.
screen or something, or maybe a very short 30-second trailer teaser or something. I think they have to, right? It's got to be like, we are working on it, we promise.
You feel like you feel like they may like do something where it's like, okay, in 2 months from now, here is our Series X, like Gears 1, 2, and 3 collection sort of thing. 'Cause
Remastered?
I know that was a rumor for a
I would
while.
I would be down for that. I think people would enjoy it if they were remastered, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
correctly. Yeah, I think people would be down. I would play through all of them again. I don't see why not. If they can if they can pull off a Master Chief collection, for
Yeah.
the Marcus Phoenix collection,
Yeah,
Like that's a good addition to Game Pass.
that it is.
Um, I mean, we're gonna see Starfield. They already confirmed that. We're gonna see Forza again.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think Stalker is one we see. I'm hoping
Yeah.
some sort of Gears something, whether it's the remaster or whatever the next one may be. And then I don't know. We got to see something from Team Ninja.
yeah.
They've
Yeah.
had that company for a couple of
Oh,
years now.
that's right.
Yeah.
Setsuna's
Yep.
or that
Hellblade or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
Hellblade #2.
Yep.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
Hellblade. Oh my God. Yeah. With
Hmm.
the trail. Yeah. That was a
Yep.
good trailer that we saw, which
That's
seems
got
like
to be
years
coming
ago.
out,
but yeah,
right?
that game's been in development for years.
Yeah.
At this point,
Hmm.
I feel like the last trailer we saw was 2 years ago. At this point,
Yeah.
Probably.
and that was
That
a
would be
big
a good one.
yeah, that was a
That
big
would
thing
be
for
a
Xbox as well.
Yep.
That was a big release for them.
that was a big release.
Yep.
Uh, eh,
Regardless, I think they have to they got to come out and they got to be thinking about it now and being like, all right, we got to come out with this showcase and be like, all right, boom, 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 boom. Here's 10 games coming to get faith back into them, and not just like, here's Starfield and 2 other games. That's not going to work.
mhm.
Feel like all of their time and I guess money spent right now is maybe on Activision and that whole ordeal sort of thing. Maybe they're just too busy because
Yeah.
you guys talk about the exclusivity sort of stuff going on with them.
Mhm.
What better way to boost sales than to make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox? And that's exactly
Yep.
what Sony and them fear. And Xbox, they're worrying about their hardware sales and how they have nothing to put out. So hopefully that's not the case. I hope to cross my fingers that that's never the case.
Right.
Xbox can have Activision. I really don't care about the deal going through or not. I just hope that everybody gets to, I don't know, plays nicely with each other.
Yeah.
That's a high hope.
Yeah. I know
I
what I'm
think
saying there. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think deep down they're probably hoping to have it ironed out before this showcase. So even if they don't come out and say Call of Duty is an exclusive, they can come out and say Call of Duty will be free day 1 on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And that would be a big win. But it's not going to be cleared up by June at this point because of all the issues going on and all the people putting up walls to stop them. So they can't even do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Hogwarts Legacy over 15 million now. That's a lot for a game.
Yeah.
That's a ton.
Are we surprised, honestly?
I mean, I was a little bit that it was that high, but then I remembered you got people like Barry's mom buying it who don't play video games. So, that's huge. It's like Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing pulled in people who didn't play games, and so is Hogwarts. I want to see, though, a percentage of people who don't play video games and bought Hogwarts Legacy that actually completed the game, though.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty low because
Yeah.
that game
Yeah.
is not user friendly.
No,
No,
it is
it's
not.
not.
We've been over
Yeah,
how not
Right.
user friendly it is.
I mean, it's not the Animal Crossing where you can figure it out and be okay. This is like, if you're going to beat this game, you got to dive in and fully involve yourself in RPG elements. And for people who don't play games, that's, man, I just can't imagine too many newcomers are going to stick the whole way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that one of the hardest types to even get
Yeah.
introduced? Wouldn't RPG be the hardest type to get introduced to? Maybe, I don't know, maybe first person shooter for certain people with bad hand-eye
Yeah.
coordination, but you just can't walk into an RPG as easily as other types, as like Sackboy or something like that,
Mm-hmm. That's true. I don't know. Somebody find me that percentage because it's got to be super low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder actually just percentage of people who played the game have completed it, because I feel like that's probably not that high either.
Yeah, the Harry Potter high and eventually kind of fades away, especially with new gamers and how terrifyingly difficult that game can be. But
Yeah. All right, and then the last thing I have is I'm gonna throw another question at you guys. I feel like I'm coming at you every week with one of these.
it's all
But
right.
it's something that
Craig's questions.
Yep, it's something that popped up, and I was like, I gotta ask you guys this. I want to know what was your very first on your own, with your own money, gaming purchase. While you guys think about it, since I had advanced time to think about it, I will give you mine. I feel like I've told the story a million times, but when I was a kid, when I was like 5 years old, my grandfather had a farm, and he gave all the grandkids a cow. Those cows were beef cows that eventually got sold. And when they got sold, he gave us the money. What I
Oh,
did with mine is I bought my Nintendo Entertainment System with my own money, which I still have to this day. It's still hooked up, still plays. But that was my very first on my own gaming purchase when I was like, I think I was 6. But yeah, think about it. On your
wait,
own, not like parents bought for you.
and you when you say gaming purchase, do you mean like
Mhm.
something like hardware or like
Could
an
be
actual?
either. It could be a game, could be a console, could be anything really. Whatever you remember being like the first time you went to the store and you had your own money in your hand and you're like, I want this game or I want this console. It might be game.
It, it's game. I got a short and a long one,
Mm-hmm.
just so you guys can learn a little bit about my gaming
Sure.
journey. The short one, I believe, is NBA Street Volume 2.
Okay.
Was the one that I actually first purchased with my own money. There's not really a story. I had money. I had an allowance
Yep.
and chores simultaneously, like most kids, at
Mm-hmm.
least 80s babies. So that's like not a good story. The better story, I guess, would be my gaming lifetime in my 20s. So like I had a PS2, PS1, all that. I graduated high school in 2006. Then I came up and I went to college, and I kind of fell out of gaming in terms of my own money. When I was playing games, I had a friend who had it. My whole Rock Band Guitar Hero career was very generous friends throughout my years who just had the systems. I missed the whole Vita phase. I missed my everything past Game Boy Advance phase. I didn't have all of that. And subsequently, and you guys have heard me hint at this, I didn't have a Wii. I didn't have a Wii U. I just missed it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided in like 2000, it is actually pretty far from that time, 2010 or 11, that I was going to get back into gaming like seriously. Life had calmed down, had a steady job. Well, it calmed down a while ago, but in any case, I wanted to like start putting money back into gaming because that was really what I loved doing growing up. And I bought a PS3, and to give you a time frame, I'm pretty sure I bought the PS3 less than a year before the 4 came out.
Okay.
I think I got that time frame down. I think I have the years right. Did, did PlayStation 4 come out in like 2014?
I don't even remember.
That's a good
Probably
there's
about
some
right.
trivia there.
Yeah.
Long story short, is my early to mid 20s was not consumed by gaming like nearly as much. I played a lot of games with friends. It was all like multiplayer. I really didn't do any single player kind of stuff. I think I brought my PS2 up with me, so what I was playing was like Final Fantasy 12
Mm-hmm.
on PS2, like stuff like that. I had a good buddy of mine named Markian, who watched that, and he watched me play the entire Final Fantasy 12. It's actually a pretty fond memory because he was a great hype man when you play games. But anyway, long story short, that's essentially that's what I feel is the deepest gaming purchase for me, because now consoles and upon consoles in my home, in terms of like what is modern consoles and what you can buy, I think that's what reinvigorated gaming for me. And like here I am today.
Yeah. Sucked you back in.
Yeah, because Last of Us was around the time that I bought a PS3, like to
Okay.
give you another time frame. And I was like, what the heck is this? What have I been missing? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Barry. Sorry. I gave you a lot of time to think.
No,
But
he had time to think.
To be fair, it's really difficult. I am scattering my brain because I did not have an allowance or anything
Okay.
like growing up, so I never really got my own money. And I feel like every time it was always like a favor. Like if I was cleaning and stuff or getting good grades, then my parents would get me a game that I wanted. But that's not with my own money. I'm trying to think with my own money,
Okay.
and I'm gonna sound so much younger than everybody else with this.
Yeah. I mean, you are though.
Yeah. So like the main thing for me is I can definitely say the first console I ever went and got with my own money was a PS. It was like the PSP Go, I think it was. It was the weird like flip up like one
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. I think I'm pretty sure that was my first console that I bought with my own money. The other one, and I was pretty sure I know, and I was looking it up. I'm pretty sure it was Final Fantasy 13, or something
What?
like.
Okay.
That's why
But
you're so fond of it.
well, no, I was looking at it too. It's like Final Fantasy 13 released apparently in like 2014. I didn't like that. That's not that far off.
Yeah.
Thinking with my age, like no, like I don't think it. I don't think that would have been. It probably would have been some NHL game. Like when I started work at 15. Like I worked at a restaurant at an early age.
Same.
I definitely used that money to buy video games. Just at the time, what I played was definitely like a lot of hockey. Definitely a lot of hockey games. So if I had
All
to,
right.
let
Mhm.
me, and I'll have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure it was. Is it like Patrick Kane on the cover? Nope, not 09. That's too old. 10. It was 10.
Okay.
It's a
NHL 10.
PS3 game. NHL 10.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, 2009. That makes a lot more sense with me. Yeah, I think that was definitely it. I think NHL 10 because I was a huge hockey nut back
I
then.
had a list of like all summer long chores I did, and at the end of the summer, my dad bought me a PlayStation 1. And then after that, I always remember my allowance then was $5 a week for doing like whatever tasks around the house. So at the end of every month, I would have $20, and I would like beg to go to Electronics Boutique then, not
Yeah.
GameStop, but Electronics Boutique, and I would just scour the PlayStation 1 shelves for something that was $19.99. And I have fond memories of finding games that a lot of them I still have, but like taking this game up to the guy up front who was probably so annoyed by me and being like, is this a good game? This is
Yeah.
$20. Is this a good one? And getting some really good ones and getting some not so good ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, the allowance thing, when you said that, brought back so many memories of being like, oh man,
Mm.
I remember being like, all right, 3 more weeks and I can go get a $20 game. Or if something was coming that I knew I really wanted, saving up for months and being like, all right, if I start now, I'll have $50 when this game comes out and I can go get it.
I miss that. We need to do like a 20-minute segment of just games from that around that time, back when people were still taking chances and there were so many
Yeah.
smaller studios, of just like, what were some of our favorite worst games
Yeah.
in that era? Because like N64 was so safe and a lot of hits came on there, and they're like 80%, it seems like, of N64 were hits. I mean, I could be just like, building it up a little bit more, but PlayStation had some,
They had some
you
bad
like,
ones.
you had some bad ones. You tried, and like, it was
Mhm.
back when we were all still more accepting of video games. So like even kids were more accepting of video games back then. You got it. Your parents bought it for $20. You played it start to finish,
Yep.
you know,
Even if it was
and
bad.
yeah, even if it was bad. And I have some
Mhm.
bad ones collecting dust back in my parents' house. I do. But I loved them at the time for some reason, but
Yeah, there was no way then, and this has been said a million times by not just us, but like there was no way for us as kids to go into the store and know if these games were good or not. We had to rely on if the person there had played it or what the back of the case looked like, because we couldn't go online before we left and look, and maybe you saw it in a magazine and that's how you had your eye on it. But like just scouring those shelves, and like there was one for PlayStation 1 called Rascal. And I bought that one and I was like, is this a good game? And the guy was like, I have no idea. I've never played it. And I played that game start to finish. And I bet if I went back and found that game and played it now, it's probably terrible. But I had a good time with it then. Like you're right. Like we were just more accepting of
yeah.
mediocre games then, than we are now. Like nowadays you have so many options. You play a game for 10 minutes and you're like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to play
Yeah.
this anymore. Back then, we were like, this is what I got until I
This is
get
all I
$20
got. Yeah.
next month. Yeah. I'm going to play
Yeah.
through it 15 times.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking at your other game collection where you
Yep.
had played the other games 15 times. You're like, well, this is the only new game I'm going to have for another month. So
Yep. Do that, or I go play Madden again.
Yeah.
again. Yeah. Oh, man.
But yeah, that's
Good
all I got
times.
there.
That's good times. That brought back some great memories, Craig. Thank you for that
Mhm.
question. Speaking of PlayStation games at like 1999 and such, taking it back there. In January, Sony announced that the PS5 shortage was over.
Mhm.
Now we're at the point where PS5s are easy to be purchased, and they have seen. We were talking about Xbox's hardware going down 30%. PS5 has skyrocketed to 500% in terms of PS5 console purchases. It is now past essentially the units that PS4 was in the same lifetime time frame after its release. That's not news, but I guess it is for some people who don't read gaming news and just game.
I think
But
it's
the other
news
thing,
considering the COVID
Yeah.
issues we
yes,
had.
Mhm.
yes, and that definitely that unprecedented COVID did have a huge effect. What they're also seeing though is PS5 purchases, game purchases are down now that there's $70 price tags on certain games, mainly AAA bigger titles, things like that. So the contrast just made me interested because what's happening in the gaming community, us included, and it's to some degree, um, is we're seeing $70 games that are not playable when they come out.
Yep.
Now, we just talked about Redfall. That's Xbox, but it's still a game that, is supposed to be a main title that's not playable when it comes out. We all know about Jedi Survivor and its drop. Um, And, if we want to even go across every type of spectrum in gaming, the PC launch of The Last of Us. So
Yep.
that's three examples in 2023 where hard earned cash, if you didn't have a Game Pass for Redfall, um, is not coming out as a playable with a moderate experience game. And I don't know. The combination of both stories about the rise in, PS5 hardware, the fall in purchases specifically for $70 price tag games kind of invites something that we may be talking about in the next year or two, which is just like, where is gaming going? you know? And Craig, you bring it up again, that PS1, that was $20 games that you put $20, which was, enough at the time. But, we all remember that jump to when games went to $50. And that seemed outlandish. Now here we are at $80 games, and some of which some are 10 to 15-hour gameplays, but earn it. Some are going to be $150-hour games. But it just kind of opens up an interesting talking point that I think that we will, I think without even knowing, continuously touch on in the coming years, but also just something that I don't know if you guys had anything that it just sparked right now, but that interests me a lot.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think for the go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I think for the most part, and I feel like this is deja vu because I know I talked about it last week too, but I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that QA testing positions are just like they are not abundant
Mhm.
anymore. You can and a lot of it too, and you kind of see it with like let's say for example Diablo, like they are giving the fans chance to play the game and like show like okay these are the issues I'm having with this computer, or this console, or this, and it's like okay we don't have to pay people, we can just put out a beta, and people will test it for us. And I
Yep.
just feel like lately Redfall didn't have a beta or anything like that. So it was just QA, quality assurance teams that do it, and they probably don't have enough people to run that, unit. And it's the same thing with like the PC ports for Last of Us. They all made it for PS5, and then it's like for PC, they've got probably one or two people testing it. And I don't really know. I really don't. But
Mhm.
there was a whole big time where quality assurance teams were getting cut. We heard about all of the cuts that they made at Apex with Respawn, and all the cuts that they made with that team. So I feel like this is kind of the gaming industry reaping what they sow. And because like gamers because for the most part, other than Steam, once you put your $60 into a game, the unfortunate or $70 or $80, there's no getting it back at this point. They've already made their money off of you. So even if you had a mild interest in the game, it's not going to happen. And that's, I guess, kind of the product of like what's nice about Steam is it's a digital only game. you can get your money back if like you played an hour and the game is absolutely broken and you can't play it. You know, I think it was a big deal when Cyberpunk and stores actually took physical copies of games back. And
Yeah.
like that was the first time in history that I'd ever experienced that. So it was a big step. But now it's at this point it's just like, okay, you pay $70 and if it doesn't work, you as a physical gamer, you have that. And
Yeah.
you know, Steam is really I think the only, and maybe the Epic Game Store on PC are the only two stores that'll be like, okay, you played 2 hours of it or an hour and you don't like it, here's a full refund. You don't get that really with console gamers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't return anything physical once you open it, unless you're
Correct.
swapping it out for the same game.
Yeah.
And your only other option is either taking it to a GameStop who's going to give you paid 70, they might give you 30 if you're lucky, 25 more likely. Or you try and sell it on Facebook Marketplace or something, you know, selling it local. But you're still taking a loss. And I think you're right though. I think the lack of abundance of testers is pretty evident. Like I do a decent amount of testing on the side, and I just do that. I don't do it for the money. It's minimum wage that they pay you. But there's a decent amount of people doing it. It's just I don't see it from my own personal experience. I'm not seeing a lot of big name games using that process. At least the company that I test through. Um, I see a lot of like the smaller games. You know, I'm not seeing a Redfall or I'm trying to think of what else. Jedi Survivor would be kind of hard because it's usually like multiplayer based.
Yeah.
But like example, I've done Skull and Bones, and I did the Lego racing game that's coming out. You know, but yeah, you don't see these AAA games because I think they rely on internal testing, and if they only have 10 to 20 people testing, they're definitely not going to catch all these issues. That's just not possible, not in the time frame they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah. In lighter news, these two are quick. These other two are quick. Thanks to PlayStation this weekend, we got a prequel to Spider-Man 2. The prequel came out in the form of a comic book released on yesterday, for a free comic book day, which is something I didn't know existed. I call myself a nerd. But it's a comic book that apparently intertwines the early games and puts them together so that we can kind of get into how get at least started on how Peter and Miles are going to be working together in this upcoming game. So not video game content, but I thought that was something interesting that they put out, especially because of obviously, the rumors of when it's coming out, So that's something that happened over the weekend as well. And then I'll just couple this last thing with it because it's also very small, and then you guys could take whatever you want in terms of talking about it there. But we got a Johnny Cage actor labeled for the new upcoming Mortal Kombat. I don't know, you guys probably saw it, but it is Carl Urban, our boy from The Boys. It's gonna be in a dramatic personality switch from what he's used to playing on The Boys. Is going to be Johnny Cage in the upcoming Mortal Kombat. Now, did the last Mortal Kombat blow us all away in like an Oscar-winning performance? No, but I liked it. I thought it was very good, actually, if I can use the word "very" there. But I don't know. Like I just found that pretty interesting. Is Carl Urban being a Johnny Cage fit? Which we all kind of know Johnny Cage's personality in the Mortal Kombat series. So I don't know.
His personality is American.
Yeah. And he's not even American.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he'll probably be fine. I was holding on to hope because there was like the rumors were flying as far as who was going to play Johnny Cage, and before this came out, the big rumor was that the Miz was going to play Johnny Cage from, you know, wrestling in the real world, and I think that's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
I think he would have absolutely killed it. So I was kind of holding out hope that they would pick him, but Carl Urban makes sense. That's a bigger name. And
It
I
is.
guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, for the most part, like I like Carl Urban. You know, I think he's played in some pretty good movies, and The Boys he's done a really good job with. It'll be weird if like I hear you know him as Johnny Cage say wanker or something like that. Like that
Yeah.
definitely is gonna
Yeah.
throw it a bit more off. Like when he's trying to insult people, or you know. But I completely agree with Craig there. Like the Miz when I think of like Johnny Cage,
Yep.
him and the Miz have very similar personality.
Yeah.
So
Incarnate.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that the Miz probably plays up his personality very well, and I think it would have been a good fit. But I do think that for the most part, they're looking to find a big actor to play a big character, so
Right.
that's why they went with that. It's just too bad. Maybe he gets involved in some other way. Maybe there's two Johnny Cages. Who knows at this point? You know the Mortal Kombat universe is quite weird. So
It is.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you can watch, if you watch Dredd, like the movie Dredd, Judge Dredd, Carl
mhm.
Urban did a very good American version of Dredd as well. So I have no doubt he
Yeah.
can pull it off.
Yeah, he definitely nailed Dredd. He's been in
Hmm.
he's been in a lot of stuff, so he has had quite a versatile
Yeah.
career. It's just weird, you know, when you
It's a
think
weird
of,
pick.
I don't know.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
that's all I got.
all right, so let's get into games this week. Where for me, it's primarily, and I imagine for all three of us, it's going to be Redfall that we
Hmm.
talk about. I have really picked up on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, just as a fun little game to try to get further in. And I'm again we'll get to more of that. But what did you guys play?
Redfall for me as well. And I played on Game Pass Ravenlock. But
Oh,
my main goal this week was to finish Dead Island 2, and I did do that. So I'm done with that, and then I went right into Redfall, which is probably a mistake. But that'll help factor in when you're comparing, because they're kind of the same game, you know.
um, I need to hear your take on Ravenlock because I've been staring at
Yeah.
that in the Game Pass. So a surprise to you, gentlemen, I have been focusing so much on Dead Island. Actually, I have not finished it, but I am Ferris Wheel. Is
Okay.
just Craig, just so you know.
You're getting there.
Uh,
Yeah.
I have not actually played
Okay.
Redfall. I
That's
was
Probably
fair.
not
for the
enticed.
best. Probably
Was
for the
not
best.
enticed. I was not enticed enough to eat at that restaurant, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, so primarily for me it's Dead Island 2 and Jedi Survivor I got a lot more into as well. I definitely did a good chunk of that.
Same here. Yeah, Jedi Survivor.
That's going to be my goal for this week is to beat Jedi Survivor. I don't know how long it is. Uh,
That's my thing too. I played a
Let me
lot of
look.
Jedi Survivor last week, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, when do we finally get somewhere where I feel like we're reaching the crescendo of this
Right.
story? It just feels like, and
Yeah.
I get what it's doing. It's
20
building.
to 30 is what Google says.
I gotta be close then. I have to
Mhm.
be. I've been
I'm
playing a lot of
intentionally not trying to fully explore everywhere. Like I'm of
Yeah.
the mindset. I mean, Dead Island, I was like, I didn't even touch Jedi Survivor until like Friday of this week because I was like,
that.
Dead Island, let's get it done, and then next week we'll focus on Jedi Survivor. That way I can give it full attention. But yeah, I've been trying to like just kind of mainline Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many planets have you guys gotten to already? Like
Oh, I'm still on the
I'm
first
trying to get a
one.
gauge. Oh, you're still okay.
Yeah,
Four.
I have like
4.
4.
Okay.
One's a moon, but
Okay.
It's four.
four or
Yeah.
five locations. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I think
I've
it's
unlocked all the stances at this
Okay.
point. Like I have all of the different
same.
lightsaber stances. And I just finished the second battle with what Dagon. So I'm not sure where you are, Craig, but I finished the second battle with Dagon.
I didn't get to the second. I definitely did the first one, but I didn't get to the
Okay.
second one yet.
Okay. But yeah, so for the most part, and I guess what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Jedi Survivor. You guys can go to Dead
Sure.
Island, and then we'll talk about the crap that is Redfall. But overall, like the main thing that I've really been enjoying with Survivor is I just think Survivor's gameplay is fun. I'm really enjoying the parrying it, and I've already said it. Like this is the Jedi power fantasy that every Star Wars player wants. I do think
Correct.
that I do think that if like and I feel more left out. It's kind of the same thing as the Persona issue. Is why does the main character have to be a guy? Like let's add a guy or girl option for a lot of people. Like Star Wars, in a lot of ways, I think just does more than transcend gender. Like
Mhm.
women love Star Wars too. People like Star Wars, and I think choice is a big difference for them. Where a woman, that plays Star Wars may not be the biggest fan of playing as another male Jedi, kind of thing there. So it's
Um,
I
I
know
will
they negotiate.
let me counter though. Let me
Yeah,
counter
yeah,
it
Ooh.
with that. I'm going to counter to it, and only because number one, the person playing Cal is an established actor, right?
yeah, yeah.
I know him. I know him from Shameless. That's kind of watched him grow up, but I also still feel like there is a plan in place, and I could be wrong, but I do feel like there's a plan in place to bring him into the movies or TV shows. I feel like that's where they're heading, and you can't really do that if you have this character that could be male or female, or neither. You can't do that bringing in a game character. I still hold out hope that they'll bring in Star Killer at some point, but
Yeah.
I really think Cal Kestis is going to show up in a movie or TV show at some point. He's too established of an actor at this point not to, and everybody enjoys the character. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion as to why they stick with you're playing as Cal Kestis. This is how he looks, apart from being able to change his hair and his facial hair and his clothes.
Yeah, and that name, Cal Kestis,
It's great.
that's a 6 to 8 Star Wars film name.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think really my only counterpoint to your
Sure.
counterpoint is Mass Effect 3 did it. Mass Effect 3
Yeah,
gave
they
you the
did.
option. Yeah, and I get that it hasn't been named in a movie and it's kind of a
Mhm.
different situation with all
Yet.
that.
Yeah.
I do agree with you in a way that of like if the eventual plan is to bring him into the movies or into a TV show, then I think maybe it ends up like okay, that makes sense. But
Right.
I'm just speaking for all the women out there.
I
Lots
could
of
be
women.
wrong, but is this not take place around the same time as like The Mandalorian?
I could not
Let
tell
me
you.
check.
Ooh, let's
I
bring up
I
the Kingdom
looked
Hearts timeline.
I looked right before when I started the game because I was like, where does this take place? Because I was like, this I don't know where it is. Let me see if I can find a quick answer because okay. Why is it so hard to there should be like a picture. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I feel like it's like right after uh the original prequels. I feel
It
like
is
it's right
because
after
Yeah,
Revenge of the
yeah,
Sith.
you have the
yeah.
droids. You have the droids from the prequels in the
Right.
game.
No, yeah,
Right.
you're right because and it would have to be just some several,
Here we go.
maybe 10 or 15 years afterward, because it's still like he still remembers the whole, uh, Order 66 thing.
Right.
Oh,
So
yes, they did. They did
so it
Yeah.
ha-
infuse that into the
it
game.
has to be at least like 18 years after that. So I just I have a feeling that the isn't I don't know. I Star Wars is as confusing as Kingdom Hearts, but I can make more sense of Kingdom Hearts storyline. That is so.
Right. So I guess technically that would be wrong then because Mandalorian takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And
Okay.
this is taking place between Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, and
And
episode
A New
4.
Hope.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I do they have anything in the pipelines like TV show around that time? I don't think so. I guess
I mean,
Andor, right?
yeah.
Oh no, that's before. No, that would be right. Andor.
Well, the good thing is you can. There's
Yeah, you
just
could.
there could be an infinite amount of a black
Yeah,
hole amount of time
true.
in between episode 3 and episode 4, so you could just keep doing stuff. That's the beauty of
Right.
Star Wars.
Yeah. But anyway, I got way off the side there.
That's okay. It happens.
No.
But you brought up a good point. Like I enjoy the combat. I like the bit of story bit that I'm getting. You're right; it's all incredibly well acted, as you mentioned last time.
Mhm.
Star Wars Survivors is just a fun game to play, and it's one. And
It is.
it's nice to just see EA just allow Respawn to go. Okay, here's a full price game. There's no pay to play or pay stuff included with it. It's just a story game. That's
Mhm.
what I like to see. It's fun, and this is definitely a uh worthy successor to Fallen Order.
Yeah, for sure.
There's
Excited to get
there's
to the
a
ending.
there's a lot of superficial fluff that I could do without, but when you get to just putting your head down and going towards and doing the missions and such like that and trying to explore the world, I think that's where they nailed it. I still don't know why gardening exists in this game. I
Yeah,
tried,
I
I
agree.
gardened.
Yeah, yeah.
I
it did
don't
in the first
I,
one.
yeah, and it's just like I thought because you had such a section of it that maybe it was going to produce something that you can use, but I wasn't seeing it. And, and so like I don't know what the purpose is there. I do like the hub area. I like that there's just one tavern that people just go to when you save them, and they're there, and then they're like, all right, here's a mission, and you're like, okay, I got to check in at the tavern, see what's going on with stuff, like that type of thing. That's cool to me. And the concept of having a semi open world as the main world, and then linear areas that you're going to, I'm also a fan of too, because
Yeah.
I was wondering what they were going to do. Was it going to be all linear? How open was it? But
Yeah.
it's the combat's fantastic, and I love Star Wars for this one last thing, and then I'll stop. I love seeing what new bad guy gets produced in the Star Wars series. What color is his, like, what color is he in general in terms of like, what does he look like or she look like? What's their backstory? Were they part of the Force? What was their downfall? Did somebody steal their lunch one day and they were like, you know what, I'm going to the dark side? Do they have 2 hands? Do they have 4 hands? Do they have 6 legs? What are they? Because I think that Star Wars over the years has produced some darn good enemies, like
Yep.
evil people. And that's what I'm most excited for every time I see some new installment in any media and Star Wars. And so far, this guy's not that bad. He's good. He's fallen. He's doing his Anakin thing. So
Fair.
High Republic stuff too, which I've read I shouldn't say I've read the books. I'm giving myself too much credit. I listened to the books, and the High Republic stuff is pretty good. Thanks, Audible. No free ads. Now tell us about Dead Island 2.
Okay.
oh,
You know what's
Craig.
interesting? So I'm trying to keep track, like I said earlier, this year of like one, what are my least favorite games of the year? What are my favorite games of the year? But also I'm trying to keep track of my favorite moments in games so I don't forget when the end of the year comes up. And if you're getting to the Ferris wheel, it's one that I put down as one of my favorite moments of the year. So you're about to be there if you haven't already.
I finished it, so I know what you're talking about.
The
It's
clown.
awesome. Yes,
Whew!
it's awesome. It's
So
so
good.
good.
So good. All right.
So
So
good.
I finished the game. Max level you get to is 30. I got to 30. I think I have like one side mission left and I've like 100% of this game. It's great. I had a ton of fun with it. I played it entirely single player. Did not do multiplayer one time and I just had fun with it regardless. The steady hit of better weapons and taking them back and modifying them to me was fun. And I just think every single area is fantastic. And the decision to make them individual areas and not one big open world was such a good decision, because it allowed them to not have just like, we got to put this section of 20 buildings that you can't go into to connect them. They can just not do that and just focus on, all right, here's your section. Almost everywhere in this section you can get into at some point somewhere and explore, and there's going to be stuff in there. I feel like the majority of the side missions are fairly straightforward. It's kind of a usually like go find this person or go get this and bring it back. But I feel like the way they do it changes it enough that I never got like irritated with it. I will say the ending kind of showed up on me. Like you get to the last area, and I was doing a mission, and I beat that mission, and then the credits came on, and I went, "Oh, that we're done." Okay, like it kind of caught me off guard. I expected like one or two more after that, and there wasn't. Now there's a ton of stuff after you beat it. Like when you beat it, there's probably still a good 15 to 20 side missions that you haven't done. So there's incentive to go back in, but that ending kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But I think this one has a solid chance to stay in the top 10 for me at the end of the year, I think.
I'm gonna have to concur
Mhm.
with that. That's the second time I use that word. Ill. So for many of the reasons you said, Craig, if I have gripes, the card system I still need to see used effectively in a
Okay.
game recently. The card system is not like Back for Blood, though.
No.
It's fine. The only thing that I don't like about the card system is that no cards that were being introduced besides the autophage,
Autophage.
autophage
Yep.
ones enticed me from leaving my first couple of cards.
Yep.
I was Carla. She's like a tank or one of the tanks. And I just had the most fun with those.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no cards being introduced that had me like, oh, snap, this is like the card of the year, you know, other than autophage ones, which if you play the game, you'll know.
Yep. Those are the most powerful, but they have consequences for using them if you use too many of them.
Exactly. So it's a give and take there. That made it interesting. The best part about it is the subsections. Every place has such personality that you almost want to go back just to see it. Sometimes you want to see it in the day. Sometimes you want to see it at night.
Yeah.
My wife and I toyed with that. We were kind of like, oh, let's just go back. We haven't been to this hotel in a while. We haven't been to Venice Beach in a while. Venice Beach is the best place. Yep. You can fight me on it if you want in the comments or say something different. Venice Beach is killer. But because of that personality, the sections are large and not large. They're larger because of their internal means of discovery. Because you can essentially go into almost every a lot of buildings, at least like 60% in each map. But like at the same time, when you're running from zombies, sometimes you get to the other end of the map and you didn't even realize it. It was like a minute and a half, you know? So the exploration never is boring. The missions do have your fetch person, fetch quest, fetch whatever. But like you, Craig, I wasn't bored of it, really any of them. My wife and I we were taking a look 2 days ago when we were playing it, and we were at mission 16 out of 24. And without realizing it, we thought we were doing them. We had 3 out of whatever side missions complete. So we just stopped. We were like, nope, we're milking as much of this game as we can. We stopped and we just did side missions. And that allowed us to go back, see all the things that we missed. We hadn't been to Bel Air in a while. Let's go back to Bel Air, see where the OG group of people that you meet, how they're doing. The over-the-top personality of the characters, I find fun. I could see how people maybe are not. It's outlandish, but there's a lot of personality in that game in visual and in voice. Your own character gets annoying. They kind of talk it's kind of like how High on Life was annoying, where you're like, can my own character just shut up, please? Like, let the other people talk. But like, other than that, like, even with all the stuff that I just said, I don't see it getting out of my top 10 for the year either.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. It doesn't pull any stops. It's straight to the point. You're going to see a lot of the first game in that. And yeah, it took a decade for them to not really transcend with anything revolutionary. But unfortunately for them, everything transcended in the decade it took to make this one. So they're not going to be doing incredibly or anything incredibly new, because that has been, essentially honed in by other games and developers. So buy it. I'm going to say you could play. It's not Redfall. Play it alone.
Yeah.
Play with friends. It's great. And it's for everybody. If you're a scaredy cat, it's actually not that scary. And if you're not, you're going to love the gore. So
good.
Hats off. Hats off to him.
Yeah, it's just extremely well done. I think honestly, like the enemies scale to whatever level you are. So if you were to just mainline the story, I feel like you could beat this game in like 10 hours.
Oh yeah.
It's short. But I think when I finish with mine again, I have like one side mission left. I think I'm at like 32, 31 or 32 hours. So like you can get a lot of time out of this if you want.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it's
that section in the with the Ferris wheel and the carnival or whatever that is, like the boardwalk, is so well done.
it
Oh
is.
man, it's
And
so
it
well
comes out
done.
and it comes out of nowhere. Like
It does.
it comes out of nowhere, and they didn't really do much like that in the game in terms
Right.
of like the atmospheric way that they created that.
Yep.
And there's a good level of difficulty in the game too. I've been playing with two people. Like two people have been playing when I've been playing, because my wife and I are, obviously are going through it together. And you can't let yourself get overrun.
No.
Um, you can't. It actually, you die more than you would think. So it's not a easy game, and it's also not an incredibly hard game. You just got to be smart of when to fight, when to run,
Yeah. Agreed.
like actual zombie apocalypses.
True. True.
So
So now that we're moving on from zombies, let's talk about vampires. Everybody's
Yeah.
favorite duo, Redfall.
yeah,
Yeah.
This game is, man. I'm trying to pick my words carefully here.
Barry, you know this game might win an award.
Yes, it'll probably win an award, at least at this rate. It
It
is.
might win it might win one of our awards at the end of the year.
It might. But like, and I'm not sure like how your experience has gone with it, but like overall, my thoughts on Redfall, and to be honest, I think I played maybe 2 hours before I
Okay.
put the controller down and I just decided to stop.
Yeah.
Storytelling is so lazy. Like
Yep.
there is really no story to this. You do the first mission and then you pick whatever other main missions that there are available. Sometimes there's one, other times there's three, and you pick that mission and it gives you maybe a good 30-second clip of what you're doing and what the character wants to do in a comic book like way. Like it's a literal slideshow that
Yeah.
tells you what you're doing. Doctor wants to put a watch or something on his wife's grave,
Yeah.
something like that. I don't care. Sorry.
Yep.
The AI is to the point where this is a game and I played the whole 2 hours of it while listening to a podcast. Like the story is non-existent. The gunplay I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't think it's very much fun at all.
Mm-mm.
I had the game crash on me, hard crash, like a couple times. Frame rate issues everywhere. Your world is empty, and I feel like, and this is how the AI works for me. Everyone else is dumb, but if you stand like still close enough for a sniper to hit you, he takes more than half of your health. And apparently there's turrets, which I didn't know, and they just destroy you. Like you don't have a chance against turrets, and it's there. And there was no, at least I didn't see anything that's like, oh, here's how you defeat turrets and stuff like that. There was none of that for me. There was it, and we kind of talked about it. I don't know why Xbox really allowed this game to release like how it is. You would have been better off delaying it until 2 years from now or however long it took to
Yeah.
make this game somewhat playable. Uh, they've come out and said sorry, as I've mentioned. They're going to continue to update the game to make it better. I'm sorry, but even if you make the game better, I really don't think there's much here for anybody to play.
Yeah. You don't think they're going to pull a Fallout 76 where people come back to it later? Because I know we hated that game, but like people enjoy Fallout 76 now.
Yeah, and I guess, but the main thing there is like what do you add to this game that
Yeah.
makes it better? What, a smarter AI system? Like, okay, so the enemies are a little smarter, and you're not adding cutscenes into this game retroactively. Like
Nope.
the story is where it is, and I don't think it gets better. I think you can maybe make the game run better. I think maybe you can make the enemies a little bit smarter or something like that. But other than that, you're not changing much about this game that's going to make it a comeback of the year sort of
Yeah.
option there.
Yeah.
It just really stinks. Like, I like Deathloop. I thought Prey was good. That's the studio. This is the studio that's made Prey.
And
It
Dishonored, right?
Yeah, and the Dishonored
And
series, like
Dishonored.
Mm-hmm.
like it those were good games. I just, again, I don't know where the messaging or marketing went wrong. It feels like a Forspoken sort of thing where they
Yeah.
just released it no matter what it looked like. At least Forspoken parkouring was fun, but in
Yeah.
this game, all I do is mindlessly run to the objective, kill an enemy or kill a couple enemies, kill vampires I don't care about. Like, and don't I shouldn't even get started on the vampires. I already feel like I'm going on long enough here. But
Yeah.
it's just like one of these things where there's a vampire with shields, and all it does is you hit it a couple times, it teleports into the ground, pops up somewhere else. You have to go find him, and it just throws these magical balls at you that, like, it's like a lob shot. That's all it is. Like, you see it coming from a mile away, you move a couple steps over to your right or left and you've dodged it, and now you just need to get back in its face and shoot it 2 times before it hides somewhere else. It is, and I'll let you, Craig, talk about the game more, but it
Yeah.
is, oh boy,
The Craig's
game
face.
It's like it controls horribly. The guns feel terrible. The AI, you're right, like it's dumb, beyond dumb. Yeah, and I mean this is the type of game that, like, if it was passable, the story really wouldn't matter. If it was like, I think of like Sea of Thieves. Like, to me that story doesn't matter either, but people enjoy that game because it's fun to play with your friends. So if they could have pulled that off, then the story would not matter. And you could still be like, yeah, you can play this game. It's on Game Pass. Tell your friends to download it. You can have a good, 10 to 20 hours just doing these missions. But yeah, you're right. The missions are stupid. I do think this is just a matter of them being like, listen, this game isn't going to get any better. Let's just put it out on Game Pass and move on. There's nothing else they can do at this point. Sure, they're going to update it, but I don't know how many people they put on that, because nobody's playing this game in 2 weeks or less. Maybe you have some diehards who, for whatever reason, think it's great, but I haven't seen a single person being like, "Oh, this game's actually passable." Like, not one. And even I, like, when games get like hit this hard, I always go in, I'm like, oh, I'll probably like still enjoy it a little bit. Like, there was nothing enjoyable when I played this game at all. I was like struggling not to, like, when the first time I turned it on, I played the intro, and like got out of the boat and I was like, why does this water look so weird? And then and then like got out of that intro and turned it off because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I went back and I was like, all right, I got to give it some more time. The whole time I'm playing it, I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. Why am I wasting my time? This is not, like, it's like they're stealing my time and laughing in my face about it, so yeah, I mean, it's going to get buried on Game Pass. It'll be on there forever. Nobody's going to download it and we'll forget about it. But I do think it's up there for me for worst game of the year. It's going to have some competition. I think, like, my list, I know I had Forspoken on there, but I think this is worse than Forspoken, because Forspoken I at least enjoyed a little bit. Yeah, because like right now I got Forspoken, Wanted Dead, Redfall, and Wild Hearts. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Redfall is like the clear winner right now.
Yeah, at least Forspoken was pretty too. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
game at least looked all right. This game looks like it could probably run fine on a PS3 or a PS4.
What are the character models? Why do they look so weird? They all have big hands, giant hands, short bodies.
I don't know.
It's weird.
It's the GoldenEye. The GoldenEye.
No, but like they've always done. They've leaned more towards weird character models. Like Prey was fine, but like Dishonored, they're kind of weirdly shaped.
Yeah.
But this is like a whole nother level of weird. I don't know what they were thinking. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
It's
feel like
terrible.
releasing this game hurts like the Xbox brand, hurts the
Hmm.
Bethesda Arcane brand that
Yep.
Hmm.
people have come to know. And this is just one of those things where I I really can't blame them for like this isn't a new concept. Like
Mhm.
they weren't trying something new with this. They were this is like a four-player co-op game. We've seen it before. We're facing vampires instead of zombies. We've practically seen the same thing before. It's
Yep.
another looter shooter where you have guns that have different tiers and everything like that. Like this is not a new concept. You you have a guideline to what makes a game good. Make it like a couple things here, and just go with it. But it's just not good. It really isn't.
No, it's
I
terrible.
feel bad. I feel, and I guess I shouldn't feel bad, but it's just one of those things where people put their time and probably a lot of care, even though it doesn't really show into the game.
Hmm.
But it's something where it's like these are people who we're probably going to hear that this studio laid off a bunch of people. They're getting absorbed by another studio or something like that because games are expensive to make, and this one is a flop. Now that at least Xbox owns it and that kind of thing. I also just don't know what makes this game 80 gigs. I
Yeah.
don't know, like I don't know where the game goes. Yeah, this is where we're hiding all 80 gigs. We're gonna find out it's a crypto mining game or something like that. It's using our Xboxes
Right.
to run for crypto. It
Yep.
feels like, and I feel like if you came out and said that, everybody would be like, okay, I understand why it sucks now. But I was trying to avoid the word using sucks. But game
It's
game is
bad.
rough.
It's
Game
bad.
is rough. After this podcast, I will be going to uninstall it. Like, and
Yep.
we as a podcast had plans to play this like as a
Hmm.
trio. I don't see any reason why why we
No,
won't
we don't
play
need
it.
to. We can
We
just
have
let this one die.
Yeah, we have so
Yeah.
many other games to
We
play.
could look
Tears of
forward
the
to
Kingdom.
Diablo.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
and all
Yep.
that.
We'll play
It
Diablo
is
together.
yeah, it's too bad, but
Yeah.
Redfall is a mess. And I only hope that this studio, and I'm gonna hope that Xbox maybe does a bit better job of
Overseeing
watching
their
games,
companies.
overseeing the things they buy. But oof,
Yeah,
oof,
it's a rough one.
yeah, Redfall is oof, is what it is.
Uh,
But
on a happier note, Ravenlock also dropped this week on Game Pass.
Yeah.
and if it's a
Um,
happier note,
it is
it's
a happier note. So it's like an action adventure. It has kind of like almost a Minecraft style. Not quite as blocky, but the characters are kind of blocky. The backgrounds are more detailed. Um, the music in this is absolutely fantastic. It's incredible. I'm really liking that. It's kind of an old style of game where it's like, they're going to give you a quest that's like, hey, this person needs you to go into the forest and get a blessing from this person. So you go there and you go to the entrance to the forest, and the person's like, I can't let you in until you get me this. And then you have to go find this. So you end up with like 6 quests like backed up against each other. And to me, I was like, oh God, here we go. Like it's a little overwhelming, but they're not like intense quests. They take a couple minutes. Um, it's like, it's more of an old style of like screen to screen. There are bigger areas you explore, but a lot of it'll be like, here's a section. When you go off far enough to the left, it's just going to load the next screen, kind of like an old Resident Evil style. Um, Kind of basic combat, at least to begin with. I haven't gotten too far in because I wanted to give some time to Redfall, which was a mistake. So now I can kind of put more into Ravenlock. But you start with a very basic, like, square is attack, and you have a shield. So triangle is shield. But then you start getting like some spells and that kind of stuff. So it does seem like it's going to grow and kind of get more involved. But I think this might be a hidden gem here that just kind of got dropped. And because of how bad Ravenfall was, maybe people won't see it. But yeah, I think everybody should give it a shot. If you have Redfall installed, delete that. You can download Ravenlock. It's like 20 gigs, I think, or less. So it's not very big.
yeah.
And
Just to be clear too, like
yep,
Craig meant to say that Redfall's bad. This is the hidden
yes,
gem from it. You said
yes.
Ravenlock there with
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Ravenlock is the hidden gem. Redfall's bad.
yeah.
So yeah, go look that up instead of Redfall and see if that tickles your fancy a little bit, because I was just kind of downloaded as a whim because I tend to download everything that pops up on Game Pass. And I was surprised. So I'm going to try and sprinkle that in with Jedi Survivor this week and trying to get a better feel on that as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about movies and TV shows. With how much I've been focusing on other stuff, I have not
Really?
played. I have not watched anything new. I've been watching Ted Lasso, of course. I've been watching anime. But there's no need to go into Barry's anime corner.
I was looking forward to Barry's anime corner.
Do you watch any of the things I? Do you watch any of the things I recommend?
Not recently.
It's okay.
I've been seeing a lot on the one you brought up last week, though.
The
wait.
Oshi no Ko, is that what you're? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's just because like I mentioned it and my phone picked it up, but like I'm seeing it everywhere now,
That's funny.
and I'm
That's
just
funny.
like, stay away.
That's funny.
I think that's probably what it was. My phone was just listening. I was like, hey, let's just throw everything about this show at him until he watches it.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that makes sense. I've definitely have my phone do that a couple times to me as well. So I get it. But yeah, I really haven't been watching anything new. I've been meaning to go. I'm gonna go see Guardians, but again, like I do not like a really full movie theater. I'm not
Me
the
neither.
biggest fan of that stuff. So it's like I usually let
It's-
all the
I agree.
hardcore people go watch it and then go catch it on a day where hopefully everybody's at work.
It's better with like recliner seats now because I feel like I'm not as close to people anymore, so I'm
Yeah.
spaced out more. But
There's
I still
like a
don't.
barrier.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
still don't like to go. Like I'm definitely not going on a Friday anymore. At the earliest, it'll be like a Sunday because I feel like it's kind of cleared out by then. But yeah, movies. I went on a movie tear this week, clearing out some. So I watched
ahead.
Champions with Woody Harrelson. I watched The Pope's Exorcist. I watched Renfield.
Okay.
And then I watched Dungeons and Dragons. I was like on a tear.
Good for you.
Bruh.
My list was getting too long, and I was like, I got to cross these off. And every single one of those popped up streaming this week. I was like, let's just get them all done.
I am so proud of you. I am more so on the Barry side, though. I haven't watched a lot because I've been gaming a lot this week. And I feel like I have one, but I think I should just get it out the way because it's only one episode of something, and then we could just go into the news segment, which is Craig's movie corner.
Apparently.
I watched the first episode of the documentary for Aaron Carter. It's called I think it's the Prince of Pop, which is what he was named by Michael Jackson as. I learned that in the documentary. The Little Prince of Pop is what he called it. Well, when he was, popping as a little kid.
When he wanted candy?
Yes.
Isn't that one of his songs?
Yes.
I want candy. Everybody knows Aaron's Party, Come Get It. You know, there's a Shaq song too, where in the music video he dunks on Shaq, which sure.
How many people could say that?
True.
Shoot, you're right. It's not a long one. It'll be just 30 seconds here. It's a good series if you just grew up with Aaron Carter and you're just wondering what happened to him. He passed away in November. There's a lot of speculation going around as to like what was going on with specifically with his family. I know in this particular series, probably Nick Carter's not in it, who is his brother, famously from the Backstreet Boys. Which I don't know if anybody's ever said it with that inflection.
That was weird.
Cadence, the Backstreet Boys. But in any case, Aaron Carter was somebody I grew up with. I remember Aaron's Party, Come Get It when it came out. I remember looking at that kid and being like, and singing the songs and all that type of stuff. You just kind of remember. He's like a year off from my age as well. I think he was born in 87. So it's more into my age group. There might be some of y'all who went back in the archives and checked out his music because he really hasn't had a career. But it's just a good documentary if you want to know what happens to people who are struggling with addiction, specifically with people who grow up in the fame world, like we've seen with Amanda Bynes, like we've seen with oh my God, just name your child actor who's not right in the head right now.
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears. It's just another. It's just yet another look into what happens when they get that young into the business without the right representation, which is like every child actor. Usually their parents are running what they're doing. And usually one or more parents either don't know what they're doing, have some ulterior motive, or are addicted to something themselves. I'm not making fun of any of these scenarios. Just look at the history. Like that's literally childhood actors and actresses and stars issues. So it's a good documentary if you want to know what happened to Aaron Carter, or if you just want to see yet another documentary of people growing up with that issue. He also had a brother who was in Backstreet Boys, which was popping off at the time, and he actually started opening up for the Backstreet Boys. So it was really interesting seeing somebody who's looking up at their brother who is and inevitably will be more famous than him for the right reasons, while he was in his solo career trying to, while being, I don't know, 5 years younger or whatever he was, trying to do the same thing at the same time in Hollywood. So, it's a good one. Episode's out already. It's on Hulu. It came out this week. There's going to be more. I don't know how many though. So, Craig's movie corner.
I would say too, before I forget too, I like the first 4 episodes of Bupkis. I just want to throw that out there because that show is great. Pete Davidson. It's like what I enjoy about it is they make a point of saying that like it's based on his childhood / life, but it's embellished. But what I enjoy is like you'll watch an episode and be like, that was crazy, and then they might throw like pictures that he has of the actual event and being like, oh, he wasn't kidding, that actually happened. Like, kind of mixing in like this is embellished, no, this did actually happen. But I don't know how I feel about him, but I feel like we're gonna look back and be like, yeah, he was probably a pretty important comedian of our generation when all said and done, right? What, hate him or
I
not,
think
hate
so.
him or love him,
Yeah.
I think he will be.
He's made an impact. He's done exactly what the comedians of the generation did. He dated the famous person in Ariana Grande. He had the
Yep.
jokes after they broke up in a historic
Yeah.
breakup in that aspect. So, like, yeah. And I mean, he's already sitting pretty with a lot of famous comedians and actors and stuff like that already. Like, everybody's friends with him in,
Yeah.
like, the business. You know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a good show, and it's entertaining to see all the connections he has because man, a lot of people show up in this show. Just a
Mhm.
ton. He's calling
he's
in all the favors.
he's everybody's boy. He's
He
everybody's
is. He
boy,
really
at
is.
least right now.
All right, so we'll start with Champions. Woody Harrelson. This is a basketball movie, which is right up my alley. He's a minor league basketball coach. He gets fired and then arrested for DUI. He has to serve his sentence out, kind of like Mighty Ducks, by coaching a team. The team is a team made up of intellectual disability players, and
Oh.
did not expect to like this movie as much as I did, but it's a good, like, funny, heartwarming type of sports movie that I can watch like a million of those. I love them. Like, remember the Titans, like, give me all those, I have a soft spot for Woody Harrelson because White Man Can't Jump. So anytime he's related in
It's
a
a
basketball,
classic.
anytime a basketball
Classic.
movie and he's involved in, I'm like, all right, I'm there. So that one was a definite watch for me. I don't think it's going to win any awards or anything, but they do a very good job. The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe. Man, I love Russell Crowe too. That
He's
guy's
good.
great. Pretty standard Exorcist style movie. It gets pretty crazy at the end, which is what you want to see in an Exorcist style movie. They kind of leave it open that they could do more. And dang it, I will take more Russell Crowe as an Exorcist because I enjoyed it. Another one that is not going to win any awards at all, but it's enjoyable if you enjoy that type of movie. I know that's not like a huge market for Exorcist movies anymore, but he pulls it off. What's up?
Did you see The Right? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah.
Because Anthony Hopkins does a great job in that too. Well,
Yeah,
like,
he's Russell Crowe is like a sarcastic exorcist. Like
okay,
he like makes fun of demons. His whole thing is like making jokes as his way of like diffusing the situation.
okay,
And also just pissing off demons. So like I like that angle where it's not him just being like holding up a cross and like chanting. He's literally like trying to trick them or making fun of them. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get an edge on it. It's just something a little bit different that I'm like, you know what, I could take another 2 or 3 of these movies. I'm down. Um, I mean, they literally like, it's not really a spoiler, but at the end, like it revolves around a boy being possessed because his family moves into their house that they own, which happened to be an old, like, I think it's a church or something. Um, but at the end of the movie, they're like, it's considered a hot spot for the demons. And then they pull out this map at the end and he's like, there's hundreds of others. And I'm like, yes, go to all of them. Just give me all of them.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm down with that one. Renfield, Nicolas Cage as Dracula. This one was great too. Man, I was like hitting on all cylinders this week. Hilarious. Almost, it might have more blood than Evil Dead. Like the most, like it's extremely bloody. But in like a funny way. Like comical amounts of blood, like ripping people's arms off and it's like geysers of blood. Um Super entertaining though. Nicolas Cage is just, man, when he does a movie, he goes all in.
Yeah, he does.
And he commits. And there's a lot of people in this movie as well. What's her name? Aquafina.
Aquafina.
Aquafina?
Aquafina is the like,
Oh, she's funny.
she's in it as like the sort of main character as well, as a police officer. She pulls off some action scenes. I was surprised. She did a good job. I was like, you know what? I can believe her as like going around and killing like 30 people. Didn't think I could, but she did pull that off. So Renfield's another one. Definitely not horror. So I think this one goes out for everybody. Like, you should check out Renfield. It's a great comedy. And then
Awesome.
Dungeons and Dragons. Barry, you already saw this.
I did, yeah.
I think the easiest way for me to say Dungeons and Dragons is, you know what? I'll take more of those. Give me a couple of those, just like Russell Crowe. Give me a couple. Man, they all work together so well. I have like no interest in Dungeons and Dragons. I have no experience. I haven't read any of the books, nothing. And it didn't matter. I still had like a fun time. The humor was good. Everybody, I think, is cast pretty much perfectly for their, like Michelle Rodriguez is perfect in that role. Just like she's made for that role. Yeah, I mean, you've already talked about it. I don't need to go into it, but like, super well done. That is a summer popcorn movie for sure. That's something that if it would have came out in July, would have been fun in a theater. But I mean, you can stream it now, so definitely check that one out as well. I think there's already plans to make more, right?
Yeah, based on how the first one went, there are some plans to make. I wanted to ask what you thought about that cameo with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper, hilarious, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too.
The pudgy dragon was great. Handled really well. I thought the villain was really cool. She was great. And yeah, overall, just like super fun time. It doesn't overstay its welcome, gets to the point. I think it might be 2 hours, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like it went by pretty quick.
That's usually a good sign.
Yeah. 100%. Like, if I would have saw this in theaters, I would have been happy with spending the money on seeing it. It was just when it came out, I was like, I don't have any interest in Dungeons and Dragons, so that kind of kept me away a little bit. But yeah, that's another great one. So I didn't have any bad movies this week. Put it that way. They were all good. So that's really all I can ask for after Redfall. So at least the movies were good.
At least the movies were good. I need that on a shirt.
Yeah,
at least the movies were good.
But yeah, that's the movie corner. Go watch them all. They're all streaming right now.
Go watch them all. Pokemon.
Yep.
I'll have to definitely take a look at that vampire one with Nicolas Cage then, because I saw that one and I saw some reviews for it as well. So I'll probably take a look at it. But that's going to be it for this week's podcast. So thank you guys for listening. If you're interested, please make sure to share it with a friend, review it on your podcast listening platform of choice. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Definitely follow us on TikTok. We're having fun putting some stuff out there. We appreciate the support we get on TikTok as of late. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below about how Redfall is probably a masterpiece that we don't understand, and that and fight with us. I'd love to hear people tell me that Redfall is actually better than what we think it is. or just tell us we're right. I'd appreciate it.
There you go.
Other than that, I want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you
Bye,
later.
guys.